Hello friends, and welcome back to another video. In today's video we're going to be talking about all the books that I read in the month of October. So for the month of October I read 20 books. Here is our spread, and for our pages here is all the books with their ratings that I read for the month. And then here's our wrap up. So in the month of October, I read a total of 20 books. That is a total of 7,989 pages. My average rating for the month was a 3.93. And then the breakdown, I think I broke this down right. I might have got my number off. Was 2 romance, 8 fantasy, 1 literary fiction, 1 historical fiction, 6 horror, 1 thriller, and 2 YA. All right, so without further ado, let's just get into it, shall we? So, there is going to be like no order whatsoever in this because, like I said, I just set them when I get done. So, we finished The Sinner by Chantal Tessier. This is, I did not enjoy this as much as I enjoyed The Ritual. For the first half of this, it was very repetitive. It was definitely there. I mean, you can see all the red tabs. It was very spicy. But about halfway through is when we started really getting into like some plot that really got me going. I gave this 3 stars. I did enjoy it, especially the second half, but like I said, it's just a lot to follow. So in this one, we're following Sin and Ellie. Ellie is Sin's sister's best friend. I gotta stop shaking my leg, I'm sorry. Sin, once again, we are following. He is a lord. She is not a chosen, but he is obsessed with her. So once again, I enjoyed it. Very spicy. Check your trigger warnings. When they say The Ritual did not prepare you for this, that they are correct, because some of the stuff in here I was like, we got like significantly more dark with this one. Something that I did for Spookoplathon, I read Dearest by Jackie Walters. Jackie Walters is she is a screenwriter, and I think this is her debut novel. So in this, our main character Flora has just had a baby, and her husband is deployed overseas, so she is doing all of this alone. She's very much sleep deprived, like and sorry. And she has not spoken to her mom in years, and one day she just messaged her and was like, "Hey mom, I know we haven't spoken, I wish you were here." Her mom just shows up and creepy things happen, and the plot twist, I kind of guessed the plot twist, but it still was really good. I gave this 4 stars. All right, next up, I read Honey by Isabel Banta. I actually DNF'd this. I read over 50% of this, so I still counted it towards like books read. I gave this 2 stars. It was just boring. I was bored. Nothing was really happening. We were following a girl who becomes a pop star in the late 90s, early 2000s. And while I loved like the nostalgia of things, it wasn't for me. I was bored. Not a whole lot was happening. They talked about sex a lot. Yeah. So that's Honey. And then we have The Last House on Needless Street. I thought this was really interesting because you do get the POV of a cat, which is something that I've never like read before. So that was interesting. So in this one, you're following 3 main characters. You're following a young girl, a man, and a cat, and they're all in this house together. And it starts off with this mystery of this girl. Her sister goes missing, and she ends up moving next door to this house that has these 3 people in it. And so, yeah. The plot twist, I did not see that coming. I gave this 3 stars. While it was good, I don't know. If it was a movie, I'd probably like it more. I don't know. All right, we read my first my first Stephen King book. This was, I tabbed where all the short stories started. This is just a collection of short stories by him that came out this year. It's You Like It Darker. We've got some sci-fi. We've got some spooky stuff. We've got murder. Like, it's really good. I gave this 4 stars. There was some stories in here that was like 5 stars. Wow, that's so good. And then there were some stories where I was like, okay. So I have if you have not been watching my channel here recently, I have really been wanting to jump into some Stephen King, and I figured this was the perfect like stepping stone into that, and I really enjoy this, so now I'm excited to get into some more of his books. I finally finished Born of Blood and Ash. As you can tell by all the tabs, I quite enjoyed this book. This is the last book in the Flesh and Fire series. This is the last Sarah and Nikto's book we're gonna get. I got about 30% in September, and then I sat this down. I did not want this world to end, but it in fact has. And after reading this book, I cannot wait to get the next book in the From Blood and Ash series, because some of the stuff that we found out in this, I was like, it all connects. I saw a video that like said it perfectly, where it was like, I need to sit down with, you know, my bulletin board and the little red yarn and kind of show where everything connects. Like, it's so good. So I gave this 5 stars, obviously. I can't really tell you much about it because it is the last one in the series, but if you did not like the From Blood and Ash series, I highly, highly, highly recommend the Flesh and Fire series. I do enjoy this series more than From Blood and Ash, and I really, really like From Blood and Ash, so if that tells you anything. But yeah, so now I'm excited to get the next book next year for the From Blood and Ash series. All right, we also finished Kiss the Sky. This is the fourth book in the Addicted / Calloway Sister series. This is one of the 2 Connor and Rose books. This one was a reread for me. I really love this series. So basically, I really can't tell you much about it because it is the 4th book and it'll spoil some stuff. But if you have not read the Addicted series, where basically starts off following Lily and Lo. Lo is an alcoholic, Lily is a sex addict, and they kind of fake date to kind of let each other, they enable each other. And so we start following from their story from there. And then the farther you get into the series, you get books from Lily's sisters' point of views with their significant others. So this one was her older sister Rose. The next book is from her younger sister Daisy. And this is just found family. I love them. I love them so much. This is definitely more character driven than plot driven. There is plot, but it follows your characters more. But yeah, I love this series. Read it. We finished Chain of Gold, the first book in the Last Hours trilogy. I gave this 3 stars. It was a good start to a trilogy. I didn't like it as much as the Infernal Devices trilogy. This happens, I believe, 20 years after that trilogy, and you're following like the kids of some of the characters in that book. While I did enjoy it, and the ending threw me for a loop. Like, I'm ready to get to the next one to find out what happens, because the ending, I was like, what? So we are following William. No, not William. William is the dad. We are following James and Lucy Herondale, and they are shadow hunters, obviously, and there has been an outbreak of attacks throughout London, and they're kind of trying to figure out what's going on with that. So yeah, it's really hard to kind of explain this. We read the second book in the Red Queen series, Glass Sword. I gave this 4 stars. So basically, you are just following our characters from where things ended in the Red Queen. I can't really tell you much about it because it is the second book, but basically in this series, you are divided by the color of your blood. You have the red bloods and the silver bloods. The silver bloods have power, red bloods are normal. And our main character, Mare, finds out that she is red blood, but she has a power. And so we're following the story from there. We're kind of figuring out that, you know, what if there were more like her? Like, what would that mean for their world? So really interesting. And then probably one of my top reads of the month, I read The Great Alone by Kristen Hanna. This is my first Kristen Hanna book, and I cannot wait to read more from her. This is my only book that I own from her, so I have got to get some more. I think the next book, no, I have The Women. It is wrapped up in my bookshelves somewhere behind me, as you can see. I am doing a Wraps TBR challenge where I've got to get through most of my TBR before I can really go to a bookstore and buy a bunch of books again. But 5 freaking stars. So we are following a family as they moved to Alaska in 1974. The dad is an Army vet. He was in the Vietnam War, and you are following it from the daughter's point of view. It was really interesting to kind of see. You start following her when she's 13. You follow her all the way up into her mid-20s. And it was interesting to see like her thoughts towards her parents and her situation and things like that from the kid's point of view. Really, really, I love this book, y'all. I love this book. Kristen Hanna has become a favorite author of mine. I want to get The Nightingale by her. I want to get True Colors, I think is what it's called, by her. I read the synopsis of that one and it sounded really good. It was like a murder mystery in a small town. So good. Okay, so enough yapping. Cat, are you okay? The Great Alone by Kristen Hanna. Love it. All right. Another reread for me. We read The Serpent and the Wings of Night. Let me go ahead and get... We also read the novella that comes after this, Six Scorched Roses. I gave Serpent and the Wings of Night, I gave 5 stars. So we are following... I can never figure out how to pronounce her name. Is it Aurea? I'm just going to call her Aurea. We follow Aurea and Rain. So in this book, there is a like game or trials that you can enter. And if you are the last one standing, you get a wish from Nyaxia, which is like the goddess that created the vampires. Oh yeah, this is vampires, by the way. And so Aurea is a human in a world of vampires. And she decides that she's going to enter this so that she can get her wish. And she meets Rain there. They kind of team up to make it through the trials, and you follow them from there. So freaking good. 5 stars. 5 stars. I love their relationship so much. And then in Six Scorched Roses, we follow Lilith and Vane, and they show up more in the second book. This is kind of like their origin story, telling you of how they became who they are. The first time I read the duology, I did not read this. You do not have to read this. You are not lost. It's not like you're not going to understand anything in the Ashes and the Star-Cursed King. But this adds so much background that now that when I reread, I've got Ashes and the Star-Cursed King over there ready to go for the month of November. But because I'm getting ready for the 3rd book, which is Misha's story that comes out November 19th. I'm so excited. But it's not that you have to read this, but it does give you a lot of background and a lot of understanding. And so I'm excited to read the next book, to reread the next book and see if this makes the next book any better. You know what I'm saying? And then we have this and this are tied for like my favorite book of the month. This is Phantasma. I know that you've heard about it. Look at all those tabs. Look at all those tabs. I gave this book 5 stars. So if you love Caraval, this is an adult Caraval. An adult spooky Caraval. So basically, Phantasma is a game that shows up randomly. It just randomly shows up. Okay, so in this, you can die in Phantasma. There's only 2 rules: stay alive and don't fall in love. So we are following our main character. We're following our main character, Ophelia. And in this, we start off there. Ophelia and her sister Genevieve, their mom dies. And so her mom was like the necromancer. And so since Ophelia is the oldest, she has to step up into the role that her mom once had. And she knew this her whole life, that she was going to have to step up into this role. But then they find out about some debt and some things that they may lose their house because of it. And so Ophelia believes that Genevieve decides to run off and join Phantasma, so because that way at the end she could wish their debt to be gone. And so Ophelia chases after her and joins. But there are 9 levels that you have to get through, and you're split up into different groups. And she is not, like, the group she is in, her sister is not there. But you cannot leave your floor or your group until level 7. So she cannot even leave and find out if her sister is there until level 7. And then this phantom shows up and decides to help her out and get to level 7 as long as she helps him find a key. And we follow them from there. It is so freaking good. It has romance. It is spooky. It is magical. I cannot wait for book 2. Book 2 is going to follow Genevieve's story. So you can read this as a standalone. I cannot wait for book 2 to follow Genevieve's story. I'm so excited. I love it. Read it. It is hyped up for a reason. We read, finally, book 8.5 in the Zodiac Academy. This is Beyond the Veil. I gave this 3 stars. And that is being generous. I totally recommend, if you have not read this series yet, to tandem read this with book 8, because this is basically the book 8 but from some different characters' point of view. And nothing like plot wise really happens to like the last few chapters. So that's why I gave it a 3, because I already knew what happened because I read book 8, and so just reading it from different characters' point of views was, I don't know. There are some plot points in this, so you do need to read this so that you can have the plot, because going into book 9, I am currently reading book 9. You will be totally lost because there is some plot that happens in here, but again, this could have just been added to book 8, and book 8 could have been a little bit longer. This was not needed, in my opinion. And then I read a little novella. We have Emma Rio's Graveyard Shift. This is my first Emma Rio book. I gave this 3.5 stars. This is really interesting. So basically, this book takes place over the span of one night, and you're following characters who work the graveyard shift, and they all like work in or around this college campus, and there is a strict no smoking policy or no smoking rule on campus, and so they all meet at this old abandoned church graveyard like right off campus to smoke every night. And when they get there on this certain night, something weird is happening, and so we follow them from there. I did enjoy this. I gave this 3.5 stars. I ended up getting If We Were Villains by Emma Rio. I have not read that yet, but after reading this, I want to get into some more of this author's writing. So yeah, 3.5 stars, Graveyard Shift. One of Us is Dead. I loved The Perfect Marriage by this author. This book, not so much. I gave this 3 stars, and that is being highly, highly generous. If I could go back, I'd probably rate it 2. But you are following, it's like Real Housewives meets murder, basically. So our main character is a hairdresser. She owns a salon in this town with all these rich housewives. And basically, we're just sitting around listening to them being catty. And we know when we start off, someone is dead, but we don't know who, and we don't know who did it. So as you're reading, the only reason why I kept reading, honestly, I had a free audiobook of this, and if it wasn't for the audiobook, I probably wouldn't have finished it. But I literally put this audiobook on 2-point-something speed and listened to it in the span of a few hours while I was cleaning house. So, but yeah, the plot twist was really good, but not my favorite. I do have another book by this author, You Shouldn't Have Come Here, somewhere wrapped up on my bookshelf. So now that I have one book I really like by this author and one book that I didn't really like, that next book will be the tiebreaker on if this is going to be an author that's for me or if it was just like a one-shot wonder. You know what I'm talking about? We read Vampire Academy, which is book 1 in the Vampire Academy series. I gave this 4 stars. This was a reread for me. About 2 or 3 years ago, I started this series. I read the first 3.5 books and put it down. And so I have no idea how the series ends. So this year has just been me kind of getting back, and there's a lot of series that I like started and never finished. So this was what I have another series that I'm currently trying to do that too. But I gave this 4 stars. I really loved it. We're following our main 2 characters. You have the Dompiers. And a Dompier is half human, half vampire. They are like the guardians for the vampires. You have the good vampires and the bad vampires. You have the Moroi, which are the good ones. Then our main character that is Moroi is Lissa. We follow Lissa and... Why am I blanking on names? Rose. We follow Rose and Lissa. They are best friends. Lissa is a Moroi, which is a good vampire, and Rose is a Dompier, which is a guardian, and they are hoping to be paired up after they graduate from the Vampire Academy. And so we start off with them having run away, and they get caught and brought back to this Vampire Academy. They ran away for a reason, and we don't know why. So through this whole book, you're trying to figure out why. The romances that are budding, I love them so much. Dimitri and Rose, love it. Love it, love it, love it. All right, we are down to our last 3. So I read My Heart is a Chainsaw. If you can't tell, this is a literary fiction with some horror elements, and I did do some tabbing. I have already got the second book that I bought off Panko. It is wrapped up somewhere on my shelf, and I have pre-ordered the third one. So this is the Indian Lake trilogy. The first one is My Heart is a Chainsaw. The third one is Don't Fear the Reaper, and then the third one is The Angel of Indian Lake, I believe. So in this one, we are following our main character, Jade, and she is obsessed with horror slasher films. I'm talking Freddy, I'm talking Michael, I'm talking Jason. Like, she is obsessed. And she one day happens upon some things that she was like, is there a slasher film that is about to be in my town? Am I fixing to get to live my very own slasher film? And so we follow her as these murders are happening, as she's comparing it to different slasher films, as she's trying to find who the final girl is going to be in their town. And we trigger warnings. We do find out why she is so obsessed with slasher films. There is some triggers of abuse and things like that, so just be aware of that. So I really enjoyed this. Am I actually becoming an adult and liking adult books? We'll never know. But I really enjoyed it. It is not for everybody. There are some slow parts in here, but I really enjoyed this. I really, really enjoyed this. We Used to Live Here. Read it. I heard that this is becoming a movie. I cannot wait for the movie. This is so freaking good. I gave this 5 stars. I do not read it at night. I read it at night, and then I found myself scared to go to sleep. So freaking good. Usually after I read horror/thriller books, after I read them and I'm done, I sell them on Pango. I will not be selling this one. Did I even say I gave this 4 stars? I don't know if I gave that. But anyway, so we're following a couple in this book, and they like to flip houses, and they have bought this house. They're starting to flip it, and one random night, this family shows up and says, hey, the dad says, I used to live here. Can I bring my family in and show them around real quick? It won't take but 15 minutes. Then some crazy weird stuff starts happening. Later on in the book, you're wondering, is this narrator reliable? Is she hallucinating? Really good. Really, really good. I did not see that coming. Loved it. All right, the last book of this video, we read The Games Gods Play. Look, I cannot get over how beautiful this book is. I will be displaying the book like this on my shelf. Not like this. Like this. I gave this 5 stars, I believe. Let me find it. I gave this book 5 stars. So basically, this is like an adult Percy Jackson. So every 100 years, the gods have the, what do they call it? The Crucible. And they pick a human to play in the Crucible for them. Because there was a War of the Gods a long time ago, and it did not end well. So to keep that from happening again, they have the Crucible. And whoever's human wins, decides who is going to be the king or queen of the gods for the next 100 years. Hades has never entered the Crucible. Never entered it. Because he's already God of the underworld. He already rules the underworld. So why would he need to rule the underworld and what they call the overworld? But this year he's entering, and nobody knows why. Why is he entering? What's the deal? And he picks this one girl, and it's so good. We follow it from there. It's so good. This whole time I was like, I need a Hades. I did annotate, but I did not tab because I didn't want to mess up the edges. But we do have Subarus in here. Little puppy dog, my favorite. Okay, so I really enjoyed this. Read this if you haven't. But that is the 20 books that I read in the month of October. So things are falling. So if we go to our chart, I've already started working on my journal for 2025. And I'm going to try to keep it not so colorful like this because this does not look good. So I'm going to try to keep it like, I bought a pack of grayscale Tombow, whatever they're called, markers. So I'm going to keep it like very neutral in 2025. But this is our chart. So there's October. We read 25 books. This is what our bookshelf is looking like. Again, this is not going to happen next year. I'm going to have, instead of color coding the months, I'm going to color code my star ratings. And so this is what our bookshelf is looking like. So far, I've read 176 books this year. So I'm very much on my way to meeting my goal of 200 books for 2024. And then here is our November. Let's ignore that. That is my sticky note where I add up how many pages I read per day. But and we're going to ignore this ugly page. And then we have, I've already read 2 books. I did my 4th wing reread. Loved it. And then next year I'm going to use a lot of these like letter stickers because I just think this looks better than my handwriting. I'm putting together my winter TBR right now, and I have started decorating for December. So that is our wrap up. So if you have not, please like and subscribe. Join my bookish community. It would make my day. Let me know down below what is something that you read in the month of October, and I will see you in my next one.